You're listening to Word Crimes.
Welcome to Season 4 of Title 18 Word Crimes. I'm Eric Arneson. On this episode, Mary Wilson reads Thoroughly Murdered Millie by April Kelly. April Kelly is an Emmy-nominated television writer and producer. Her debut novel, Winged, won first place in Kindle's 2013 International Book Competition in the general fiction category. Her novel, Murder Take 3, is the third book in the detective series she co-writes with former federal prosecutor Marsha Lyons, and it was a finalist for a 2014 Shamus Award. April's short fiction has appeared in Dash Literary Journal, the Mark Twain House online magazine, Seven Hills Review, DECASP, Floyd County Moonshine, and Hunger Mountain Literary Journal. The story featured on this episode, Thoroughly Murdered Millie, was originally published by Shotgun Honey. Now here's Mary Wilson reading Thoroughly Murdered Millie by April Kelly.
The girl had been shot, stabbed, poisoned, and garroted. So the Emmy was not so much searching for cause of death as placing the wealth of possibilities in chronological order. My initial canvassing at the exclusive women's college, where Millicent Levoisant's body had been found in the bed of her private dorm room, turned up persons of interest by the dozen, a preponderance of them falling somewhere along the Kaylee, Kylie, Kelsey, Chelsea spectrum, and I needed to note some differentiating feature of each to keep them straight in my mind. The deceased had been universally despised, but her father was a powerful billionaire whose largesse had built several of those halls of academia, so her dormies were afraid to report her or retaliate against the vicious, abusive bully who routinely posted vile tweets about anyone unlucky enough to make her liste du merde. I've read profiles describing the bitch of Buchenwald in less pejorative terms than the ones used by those refined daughters of society's elite. Up to my bloodshots in suspects who had capital M motive, my challenge was to ferret out who had ovaries enough to send Miss Thing to the hereafter. Once Dr. Bellamy had completed the autopsy, I visited him in the morgue. Okay, antifreeze in the stomach contents matches what I found in a bottle of Gatorade from her fridge, so that's probably what killed her. You can't do better than probably? Look, detective, depending on how much of the stuff she drank before going to bed and how much time passed before the second attack, she may have died before the person with the garrote slipped in and strangled her. Or not. He went on to opine that the shooter came next, point-blanking Millie in the chest. Since she was categorically dead by then, the gunshot would not have produced much blood for the next perp, the one with the knife, to see in the dark room, so the 3 stabs to the heart were what you might call overkill. Of the 4 participants, the doc said, the shooter and stabber could only be charged with desecrating a corpse, while a jury would have to flip a coin between the poisoner and the strangler. I had a different take on the crime. No way were 4 of the overprivileged airheads at that rich girl's school capable of choreographing the French farce logistics of enter-kill exit throughout the night of Millie's demises, and it strained credulity to think they had all independently chosen the same window of opportunity to exact their revenge. I theorized a single perpetrator trying to spread suspicion among Ms. Levoisant's many targets, so I re-interviewed them individually, this time in the dead girl's own dorm room. The laced Gatorade had been taken away as evidence, but I brought a replacement, pouring half of the neon-bright liquid down the toilet before placing the bottle in the tiny refrigerator. 10 minutes into each interview, I feigned thirst, pulled the sports chug from the fridge, and filled the large glass. Then I carefully observed the co-ed as I pretended to take a drink. The 17th interviewee, Kayla Paulson, was a full scholarship brainiac. I already knew from the others that she had been tormented relentlessly by Millie, mostly because she was what the bully judged poor white trash, but also for being so grossly overweight she could barely squeeze into a size 4. Kayla was the first girl to show alarm when I retrieved the Dayglow beverage and poured a tall one. "No!" she cried out, knocking the glass from my hand before it could reach my lips. Behind the grate of an air vent into Kayla's room, we found the garrote cord, the butcher knife, a .38 with a silencer, and a half-empty bottle of antifreeze. Or maybe it was half full. I tend to be a bit of a pessimist.
That was Thoroughly Murdered Millie by April Kelly, read by Mary Wilson. April Kelly is the author of the novels Winged and Murder Take 3, among others. You can find all of her books at Amazon. As I mentioned at the start of this podcast, we're now into Season 4 of Word Crimes. I'm excited to welcome Mary Wilson to our team. Mary's a reporter and producer at Slate's The Gist, and you'll be hearing a lot more of her right here on Word Crimes. Of course, you'll also be hearing stories read by my longtime partner in crime, Scott Detrow. Thank you for listening to Word Crimes. The entire Word Crimes catalog is available for free on iTunes or Stitcher, or at our website, wordcrimespodcast.com. If you enjoy Word Crimes, please take a minute to rate the podcast on iTunes or Stitcher. It's a great way to help other people learn about our podcast. You can find Mary Wilson on Twitter at Mary Wilson. You can find me at ericarneson.com. That's ERIKARNESON.com. At that website, you can also find information about my first book, a short story collection called The Throes of Crime. It includes 26 short stories and 6 true crime essays. All the proceeds from that book go to a scholarship fund. I'm also at Eric Arneson on Twitter and easy to find on Facebook. The music on this episode is by The Throes. You can find them at The Throes, THROES, thethroes.com. Thanks again for listening to Title 18 Word Crimes. We'll be back soon with more great crime fiction.